I had always been cool by nature, yet I married a CEO with a dangerously high appetite. The latest time I turned down his attempt to get close, I saw floating comments appear in front of me. 3 years of marriage, and this ice queen supporting wife has never once let the male lead eat his fill. He's taking another cold shower. If he'd married the siren-bodied heroine, I can't even imagine how well fed he'd be. The siren heroine has already been hired as the CEO's secretary. She starts tomorrow. His good days are finally coming. The male lead met with a divorce attorney today. He wants the divorce done fast, and this supporting wife is still working in the study. I'm dying. I put down the file in my hand, got up, and knocked on the bathroom door. The sound of running water stopped. Nathaniel Cross's voice came out rough. Something wrong? Nervous but still polite, I asked. I'm done with work. Can I shower with you? The bathroom went silent for a few seconds. I thought that was his wordless rejection and was about to turn away. Then the bathroom door opened a crack. Nathaniel's hand reached out, caught my wrist, and pulled me inside. Before I could react, my back was against the bathroom door. His handsome face was inches from mine. Are you serious? His narrow eyes studied me like prey. My gaze landed on his strong chest. Lower were the hard lines of his abs, water sliding down the grooves before disappearing beneath the towel at his waist. Remembering how intense he had always been, I started to feel a little scared. I stammered. If you're already done, you can go out first. From the corner of my eye, I saw the faintest curve of his lips. His hand settled on my waist. Heat darkened his gaze. I can help you. The comments drifted past. She's playing hard to get again. The male lead is already at the edge. She delivered herself to his door. That's not just fuel to the fire. That's a whole matchstick factory. No way he lets her leave. Hey, tonight she probably won't have the strength to walk out of that bathroom herself. Being carried out works too. And they can keep going on the way. She won't pass out like last time, right? He has the stamina for it. I shivered. I had taken the initiative with Nathaniel before. On our first wedding anniversary, I happened to have the day off. On a whim, I prepared a candlelit dinner for him. I even scattered rose petals in the bathtub. That night, Nathaniel was passionate. I passed out afterward. I had only wanted a glass of water. Nathaniel could drown me with an entire ocean. Since then, I had not dared to be too forward with him. After seeing those comments, I was afraid of repeating the past. But the comment said Nathaniel had met with a divorce attorney today. He wanted to divorce me as soon as possible. Our marriage had been arranged by our parents. My father had once done Nathaniel's father a great favor. At first, Nathaniel had not wanted his family interfering with his marriage. I heard that when his father died, he had considered breaking off the engagement. It was old Mr. Cross who stepped in and forced the arrangement to remain. The Cross family was old money at the very top. My family was comfortable but ordinary by comparison. Marrying into the Cross family was undeniably marrying up. Fortunately, Nathaniel treated me well after the wedding, probably to repay that old debt. I was a botanist. To make it easier for me to observe plant growth patterns, Nathaniel had once waved his hand and given me an entire private ridge after we married. The ridge was full of rare plants and medicinal herb fields. Nathaniel spent a fortune building me a laboratory there, along with a small courtyard house that belonged only to me. As Mrs. Cross, I never had to worry about daily trivialities. I could devote myself fully to the plant research I loved, so I did not want to divorce him. If we divorced, he would probably take back the ridge. Where else would I find a husband who could casually gift me a mountain? Besides, Nathaniel was young, handsome, and built like a dream. If my future child had such an excellent father, that child would already be winning at life. These 3 years, I really had neglected him. If he wanted a divorce because our marriage lacked intimacy, then I could try to be a little more proactive. An hour later, Nathaniel carried me out of the bathroom and gently placed me on the bed. I was so tired it felt like I was lying on a cloud. Exhausted, I said goodnight. Good night. Nathaniel paused, then bent down and touched my cheek. That's it? You're sleepy already? I nodded and said seriously, I came back from the ridge today. I'm tired. You should sleep early too. Nathaniel stared at me for a moment, looking like he wanted to say something but held it back. At last, with both tenderness and disappointment, he said, all right, you sleep first. I closed my eyes, refusing to look at the desire still burning in his gaze. I had already been very proactive just now. That should be enough, right? The comments filled my vision. Is she blind? Can't she tell he's still unsatisfied? She changed, but only a tiny bit. Nowhere near enough. Does she misunderstand the male lead's strength? What Nathaniel did just now was basically a warm-up. He was ready for a marathon, and she already crossed the finish line? She gave him appetizers and soup. The main course hasn't even started. How could he be full? If he'd married the siren heroine, tonight would have been a feast. What a waste. Such a fierce male lead married this cold, supporting wife. Ivy is always on that ridge. Sometimes she stays there half a month without going home. Every time Nathaniel has to drive up there to find her. Even when he does, she still puts work first. She throws herself into the lab and leaves him alone in the courtyard. And she constantly refuses him because she's tired. When she's busy, she can go 3 months without feeding him. People get paid monthly. She's out here giving him quarterly bonuses. Any normal man would lose it, let alone a high-demand man like him. If I were him, I'd divorce her too. Don't sleep, supporting wife. The male lead has enough energy to last until dawn. Maybe I had always been naturally indifferent toward desire. That 1 hour in the bathroom had truly been enough for me. I had no strength left to keep Nathaniel company until morning. I thought that once I slept, I could make it up to him after I woke up. With that thought, the guilt in my chest faded a little. The moment my head touched the pillow, I fell asleep. Half asleep, I felt a pair of large hands pull the blanket over me. I turned over and kept sleeping. Nathaniel watched my sleeping face for a long time. Long enough for the moonlight outside to be swallowed by clouds. Long enough for the light in his eyes to fade completely. Then I heard him say, Ivy, let's get divorced. I opened my eyes and looked at Nathaniel. His expression was dark and heavy. It looked like he had already made up his mind. Maybe because the comments had spoiled it early, I did not show much shock. I rubbed my eyes and asked quietly, can we talk about it tomorrow? The disappointment on Nathaniel's face deepened. Fine. He got up and went to the study. The comments appeared again. I'm done. This woman has no heart. Nathaniel brings up divorce and she says talk tomorrow. With that attitude, she might as well write I don't care on her face. He must be completely disappointed now. Nathaniel married her to repay the previous generation's debt anyway. He never loved her. After the divorce, he can feast with the siren heroine. For Nathaniel, the sooner he leaves, the sooner he's free. The comments were twisting my meaning. It was not that I did not care. Last night I had worked late in the lab and only returned to the courtyard at 6 in the morning. I slept for 4 hours before my colleague Rowan Pierce called and woke me. Recently we had been researching a special vine. Anyone pricked by its thorns would squeeze out pale blue blood. Their body would become unbearably hot, similar to being affected by an aphrodisiac. It could even become addictive. After being pricked once, people wanted to prick themselves again. After repeated exposure, their constitution would begin to change. We named it Siren Vine. We did not know how many people had already been pricked. Our current project was to extract the vine's special components and develop an antidote. Rowan said over the phone that he had discovered something important. So I got up and rushed to the lab, then threw myself into the experiment. I worked until 6 in the evening before driving back to the Cross estate. After dinner, I went to the study to read papers and references. The fact that I had not fallen asleep in the bathroom was already impressive. At that moment, not even the sky falling could stop me from sleeping. The comments kept going. Fine, fine, you're noble, you're cool. Career first, male lead second. To be fair, Ivy having ambition is good, but Nathaniel needs someone who provides emotional value, so they're fundamentally incompatible. This marriage was forced together. Both of them are tired. Nathaniel has had enough of being neglected. He's drafting the divorce agreement in the study right now. Ivy can go marry her laboratory. Even my dreams were full of experiments. I dreamed that just as I was about to develop the antidote, the lab door slowly opened. Nathaniel's bodyguard took out a seal and pasted it across the door. With perfect respect, he said, Mrs. Cross, Mr. Cross is reclaiming the ridge. The lab will be sealed. You have 3 days to move out. The dream shifted. I hugged Nathaniel's leg. No, Nathaniel. Can you not divorce me? Can you not take back the lab? In the dream, Nathaniel threw the divorce agreement onto my face and said coldly, no. The next morning, the comments woke me up. Ha ha ha, what kind of ridiculous dream was that? It's kind of funny. In the dream, she actually hugged his leg and begged him. The contrast is wild. If she had that awareness in reality, Nathaniel wouldn't be divorcing her. Nathaniel went to work at Cross Group early this morning. Before he left, he took the divorce agreement he drafted last night. This afternoon, he's meeting attorney Locke to discuss the divorce. Ivy finally gave herself a day off. Might as well pack and leave. I rubbed my temples. Last night's dream had indeed been dramatic. Nathaniel had always been generous. Even if we divorced, he probably would not cut things off that harshly. If we truly had to divorce, maybe I could try to negotiate for the lab, but I really did not want to leave. Nathaniel had always supported my career. He had also given me enough space to pursue the work I loved. I knew it would be hard to find a better partner. I also knew that during these 3 years I had fallen for him. I made my decision. I would win him back. As long as I had not signed the divorce papers, there was still a chance. The comments cut in. Probably no chance. The siren heroine is delivering coffee to him right now. She could tell at one glance he's been starving for a long time. Men like that are the easiest to tease. The moment the heroine makes a move, the CEO's office becomes their battlefield. Hey, Nathaniel's office has a private suite and bathroom. He prepared all kinds of tricks and props. But no matter how often he hinted, Ivy never went to his company. Now he can use all of that with the siren heroine. Top-tier soundproofing.
I changed into a pale green dress. The color Nathaniel once said reminded him of new leaves after rain. It wasn't flashy. I didn't know how to be flashy. But for the first time in years, I stood in front of the mirror for 10 full minutes. The comments exploded. She's actually dressing up. Emergency. Emergency. Supporting wife finally realized she's about to lose her husband. Too late. The siren heroine already arrived at Cross Group. The male lead's office door has been closed for 30 minutes. 30 minutes? My hand froze halfway through fastening an earring. No, that couldn't be right. Even if Nathaniel wanted to divorce me, he wasn't that kind of man. Still, I found myself grabbing my car keys faster than before. Cross Group's headquarters towered over the city. The receptionist immediately recognized me. Mrs. Cross. I smiled. Is Nathaniel in his office? The receptionist hesitated. Mr. Cross is currently meeting with his new secretary. The comments practically screamed. See? We told you. The heroine is inside. The battlefield has begun. I took a slow breath. That's fine. I'll wait. The receptionist looked relieved. A few minutes later, the elevator opened. A woman stepped out. Long wavy black hair. Red lips. A figure that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. The moment I saw her, I knew. This was the heroine. The so-called siren. The comments instantly flooded my vision. There she is. The heroine. Look at that body. No wonder the male lead falls. I subconsciously straightened my back. The woman noticed me immediately. Her eyes widened. Mrs. Cross. I blinked. She knew me? The next second, she hurried over. Professor Ivy. Before I could react, she grabbed both my hands. I finally met you. What? The comments froze. The woman looked excited. I'm Celeste Hart. I attended your botanical lecture 2 years ago. I've been your fan ever since. My graduation thesis cited 3 of your papers. The comments went completely silent. Celeste looked almost starstruck. Professor Ivy, your work on medicinal vines changed my research direction. The comments. Wait. What? This isn't in the script. I wasn't sure what script they were talking about, but apparently neither were they. Celeste lowered her voice. Actually, I only accepted this secretary position because Mr. Cross funds your laboratory. I stared. What? She nodded seriously. Your antidote research saves lives. I wanted to contribute somehow. The comments started malfunctioning. The heroine is a fangirl? The heroine is supposed to seduce the male lead. Why is she collecting academic papers? What kind of romance plot is this? Before anyone could recover, the elevator opened again. Nathaniel stepped out. His suit jacket was draped over one arm. The moment he saw me, he stopped walking. His expression changed slightly. For a second, surprise flashed across his face. Then his gaze slowly swept over my dress. His eyes darkened. The comments. Oh. The male lead likes what he sees. Danger level rising. Celeste looked between us. Then, with extraordinary survival instincts, she immediately backed away. I suddenly remembered I have work. She vanished. Just like that. Nathaniel and I were left standing alone. The afternoon sunlight poured through the glass windows. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he asked quietly, "Why are you here?" I lifted the box in my hands. "I brought you dessert." His eyes dropped to it, then back to me. A strange expression crossed his face. In 3 years of marriage, I had never once visited his office just to see him. Not once. The comments softened. This is actually her first time. Nathaniel used to ask her to come. She always refused. Something in my chest hurt. I looked away. I wanted to have lunch together. It became afternoon tea instead. Nathaniel stared at me for several seconds. Then he said, "Come with me." His office occupied the entire top floor. The private lounge was exactly as luxurious as the comments had described. I tried very hard not to think about that. Nathaniel poured tea for me personally. After a long silence, I finally gathered my courage. "Nathaniel." "About last night." His hand paused. I continued carefully. "Do you really want a divorce?" The room became quiet. Very quiet. The comments disappeared. For the first time since they appeared, there wasn't a single line floating before my eyes. Nathaniel set down the teacup. Then he looked directly at me. His eyes were calm. Too calm. "Ivy, when I proposed divorce," his voice was low. "Why did you think it was because of physical intimacy?" I froze. "Wasn't it?" Nathaniel laughed. Not happily. The kind of laugh people made when they were disappointed in themselves. "I've waited 3 years. His fingers tightened around the cup. "You think I stayed because I wanted sex?" I couldn't answer, because the comments had made me believe exactly that. Nathaniel leaned back. Exhaustion finally showed on his face. The problem was never that. Then what was it? He was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost hoarse. "Ivy, when your experiments succeed, who do you call first?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. "Rowan. When something exciting happens?" "Rowan. When you're frustrated?" "Rowan. When you stay on the ridge for 2 weeks?" I lowered my head. Nathaniel smiled bitterly. "You call everyone except me." Each word landed heavily in my chest. "I know your favorite flowers. I know how you take your coffee. I know when you're pretending not to be tired." But after 3 years, his gaze met mine. "I'm not sure you know me at all." For the first time, I realized something. Nathaniel had never been angry because I worked too much. He had been hurt because I never let him into that part of my life. I love my research, but I had unknowingly placed a wall between us. A wall so high that even my husband stood outside it. The comments slowly reappeared. "Oh, so that's what it was." This was never about desire. The male lead wasn't starving physically. He was starving emotionally. 3 years. He kept showing up at the ridge. Not because he wanted to drag her home. He wanted to be included. I looked at Nathaniel. For the first time, I saw the loneliness hidden beneath his composure. The loneliness of a man who loved someone deeply and never knew whether he was truly part of her world. My eyes stung. "Nathaniel." He looked at me quietly. I stood up, walked around the desk, then wrapped my arms around him. His entire body froze. I was wrong. My voice trembled. I thought you were asking me to choose between you and my work. But I never realized. I tightened my hold. You only wanted me to choose you sometimes, too. Nathaniel didn't move. For several seconds. Then slowly, very slowly, his arms came around my waist. As if he was afraid I might disappear. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight flooded the city. And for the first time in 3 years, neither of us let go first. The comments quietly floated past. Maybe, just maybe, the divorce attorney won't be needed after all. Nathaniel held me for a long time. Neither of us spoke. The silence between us felt different now. Comfortable. Eventually, he rested his chin lightly against my hair. Ivy. Do you know how many times I drove to the ridge last year? I blinked.
No.
37. My eyes widened. 37? That was almost once every week. Nathaniel let out a quiet laugh. Do you know how many times you actually noticed I came to see you? I immediately felt guilty. Not 37? 5. The comments burst back to life.
5.
She only noticed 5 times. I'm crying for him. The man practically moved into the mountain. I covered my face. I can explain. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. Can you? Probably not. His shoulders shook slightly. For the first time in a long while, I heard him genuinely laugh. The sound was warm enough to make my chest ache. How had I missed it? That evening, Nathaniel brought me home. For once, neither of us buried ourselves in work. After dinner, we sat together in the garden. The summer breeze rustled through the roses. Nathaniel loosened his tie. I leaned against his shoulder. The comments looked traumatized. What is this? Communication? In a romance story?
Disgusting.
Give me misunderstandings. I want drama. Unfortunately for them, I was starting to prefer communication. After a while, I remembered something. The divorce attorney. Nathaniel's expression paused. What about him? Weren't you meeting him today? I was. My heart tightened. And Nathaniel looked strangely embarrassed. I canceled. The comment screamed. He canceled. Mission success. I stared at him. You canceled before I came to your office? Nathaniel nodded.
Why?
For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he looked away. You asked to shower together. I thought maybe things could still be fixed. My face immediately became hot. The comments exploded. He had hope. He had hope. The bathroom invitation saved the marriage. Supporting wife accidentally performed a miracle. Nathaniel coughed lightly. I wasn't planning to tell you that. Too late. His ears looked suspiciously red. I discovered something shocking. My husband was actually adorable when embarrassed. Over the next few weeks, I began making changes. Small ones.
But real ones.
When experiments succeeded, I called Nathaniel first. When I stayed late in the laboratory, I sent him messages. When I returned to the ridge, I asked him to come with me. The first time I did that, Nathaniel thought he had misheard. You're inviting me? Yes. Voluntarily.
Yes.
He looked so pleased that I almost laughed. The comments couldn't believe it. The male lead has been promoted. From visitor to invited guest. Amazing career advancement. When Nathaniel arrived at the ridge that weekend, he discovered something unexpected. A small greenhouse near the laboratory. Inside were dozens of rare flowers. In the very center stood a single plant. Nathaniel stopped. Ivy. Why is this labeled crossvine? I suddenly became nervous. The comments sensed danger.
Wait.
What's happening? She looks embarrassed. I looked away. It isn't an official species. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. Then why did you name it that? I mumbled something.
What?
I took a deep breath. Then forced myself to say it louder. Because it's my favorite plant. Nathaniel stared. I pointed at the flower. It grows slowly. Needs patience. It survives harsh environments. And once it takes root, my voice softened. It stays for a very long time. Silence filled the greenhouse. Nathaniel looked at me. then at the flower, then back at me. Understanding slowly appeared in his eyes. The comments collectively lost their minds. Oh my God, the botanist is flirting. She's flirting in plant language. Someone translate for the normal people. Even Nathaniel seemed stunned. After a long moment, he reached out and pulled me into his arms. This time, there was no hesitation, no uncertainty, no distance, just warmth, the kind that came from finally being understood. As I rested against him, another comment floated by.
Wait.
If the heroine isn't actually interested in the male lead, then why was she hired? The comments suddenly froze. A second later, dozens of new messages appeared. Guys? Did anyone check Rowan lately? I blinked. Rowan? Why were they mentioning Rowan? Then another comment appeared. Oh no, the real romance plot might be over there. Meanwhile, at that exact moment my phone rang. The caller ID showed Rowan Pierce. And for some reason, the moment Nathaniel saw the name, his smile disappeared. Nathaniel's expression changed so subtly that most people would have missed it.
I didn't.
What's wrong? His gaze remained fixed on my phone. Nothing. The comments immediately called him out. Liar. The male lead is jealous. Extremely jealous. Dangerously jealous. I looked between the screen and Nathaniel, then back at the screen. For the first time, I realized something. Rowan really did call me a lot. Morning, afternoon, evening. Sometimes after midnight when an experiment produced unexpected results. Meanwhile, Nathaniel and I had once gone 3 days communicating only through text messages. Suddenly, I felt a little guilty. The phone kept ringing. Nathaniel calmly said, "You should answer." The comments translated, "Answer if you dare." I almost laughed. Almost. I picked up. "Hello." Rowan's excited voice blasted through the speaker.
Ivy.
I immediately held the phone away from my ear. I found it.
What?
The antidote component. I straightened instantly. Nathaniel's attention sharpened too. What do you mean? The stabilizing enzyme. Rowan sounded like he hadn't slept in days. The siren vine's addictive properties can be neutralized. My breath caught. For months, our team had been stuck on that exact problem. If the data holds, we're done.
Done.
The antidote would be complete. For a moment, nothing else mattered. Not the comments. Not the romance. Not even the awkward tension with Rowan. This research could save lives. When? I asked. When can we confirm? Tomorrow. Rowan practically vibrated through the phone. We need one final verification. I nodded immediately. I'll be there. After hanging up, I turned to Nathaniel, only to discover he was already looking at me. There was no jealousy left in his eyes now. Only understanding. You should go. I hesitated. But tomorrow is your board meeting. Nathaniel smiled faintly. The meeting will happen with or without me. The antidote won't. The comments quieted.
See?
This is why she fell for him. The man supports her dreams. Every single time. I moved closer. Then, before I could lose courage, I kissed his cheek. Nathaniel froze. The comments exploded. Direct hit. Critical damage. The botanist used affection. It's super effective. I immediately stepped back. Nathaniel reached up and touched the spot I'd kissed. Then he laughed softly. You know. What? You've become much bolder recently. My face heated. Maybe. His eyes softened. I like it. The next morning, I arrived at the ridge before sunrise. The laboratory was already lit. Rowan looked terrible. His hair resembled a bird's nest. There were dark circles under his eyes. And yet he looked happier than I had ever seen him. You came. You sound surprised. Rowan paused, then smiled. A little. The comments reappeared.
Oh.
Here we go. Second male lead detected. I nearly rolled my eyes. Rowan and I had worked together for years. He was brilliant, reliable, annoying, and completely obsessed with research. Romantic feelings had never crossed my mind. Apparently, the comments disagreed. Watch closely. The second male lead is about to suffer. Why does every story need a suffering second male lead? Because fate is cruel. Ignoring them, I followed Rowan into the testing room. Hours passed. Data streamed across monitors. Samples were analyzed. Results were verified. Again. And again.
And again.
By sunset, neither of us had spoken much. We simply stared at the final report. The room was silent. Then Rowan let out a shaky breath. It's real. I looked at the screen. The antidote worked. Months of effort. Countless failures. Sleepless nights. All of it had finally paid off. To my horror, my eyes started burning. Rowan laughed. Then I laughed. And somehow both of us ended up looking ridiculously emotional over a spreadsheet. The laboratory erupted in celebration. Researchers hugged. Someone cried. Someone else opened a bottle of sparkling juice they'd apparently been saving for months. In the middle of the chaos, my phone buzzed. A message from Nathaniel. How did it go? I smiled immediately. Without thinking, I hit the call button. He answered on the first ring. Ivy, we did it. The words came out shaky. We succeeded. For a moment, there was silence. Then I heard genuine pride in his voice. Congratulations. Those simple words nearly made me cry again. Across the room, Rowan watched quietly. His smile faded just a little. Not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough for me to see. And suddenly I remembered all the comments. The second male lead. The suffering. The hidden feelings. For the first time, uncertainty crept into my chest. When Rowan noticed me looking, he immediately smiled again. The same easy smile as always. Yet somehow, something felt different. And judging by the comments suddenly flooding my vision again, they had noticed it too. The celebration continued late into the evening. Researchers were taking photos. People were laughing. Someone had already started discussing publication plans. But my attention kept drifting toward Rowan. Not because of the comments. Because of the way he'd looked at me when I called Nathaniel. It had lasted only a second. A tiny crack in his usual expression. Then it was gone. The comments were having a field day. There it is. The classic second male lead gaze. He's cooked. Completely cooked. Meanwhile, the heroine is happily married and doesn't even know. I ignored them. Mostly. As the crowd gradually dispersed, Rowan and I remained in the lab reviewing the final data. Eventually, he leaned back in his chair. We actually did it. We did. He laughed quietly. You know, when everyone else thought this project was impossible, you were the only one who insisted. We continue. I smiled. And you were the only one crazy enough to stay. That's true. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then Rowan suddenly asked, Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. About the antidote?
No.
His eyes met mine. About your life. The room felt strangely still. I thought about it seriously. A month ago, I might have hesitated.
Now?
I found myself smiling. Yes. The answer came easily. Too easily to be forced.
I'm very happy.
Something flickered across Rowan's face. Then he smiled. A genuine smile. One touched with a hint of sadness. That's good. The comments immediately started crying. Oh no. He really did like her. He's accepting defeat. Someone play sad violin music. I wanted to tell the comments to stop being dramatic. But before I could, Rowan spoke again. You know, I used to be angry at Nathaniel. I blinked. What? Rowan looked amused. You never noticed? Apparently not. I thought he was wasting your talent. What? You got married and immediately gained access to unlimited funding, private land, advanced equipment, and enough resources to conduct experiments most researchers can only dream about. He paused. Naturally, I assumed he was trying to buy your loyalty. I stared. That was certainly a theory. Rowan laughed. Then I met him. The comments quieted. When? 3 years ago. My confusion deepened.
You met Nathaniel?
Several times. I had absolutely no memory of this. Seeing my expression, Rowan looked exasperated. Exactly. What does that mean? It means every time he visited the ridge, you were buried in the laboratory. My mouth slowly opened. Oh. Oh, indeed. Rowan shook his head. The man would drive 2 hours just to bring you dinner. I froze. What? He'd sit outside the lab for hours waiting for you to finish. What? Sometimes you never came out. The comments were speechless.
Even we didn't know that.
Nathaniel, you poor man. Rowan continued mercilessly. One time he spent an entire afternoon helping me move equipment because you forgot we'd ordered a new machine. I was beginning to feel terrible. Another time, he fixed the greenhouse irrigation system himself. Then he spent 40 minutes listening to me explain plant genetics because I thought he was a contractor. The comments exploded. A contractor. She married the CEO and her colleague thought he was a contractor. I covered my face. This was somehow even worse than only noticing 5 out of 37 visits. Rowan sighed. Eventually I realized something.
What?
He wasn't trying to control your work.
His voice softened.
He genuinely loved you. The laboratory suddenly felt very quiet. For years, Rowan had been standing close enough to see what I hadn't. The realization left me stunned. And you know what made me angriest? Rowan continued. What? You never seemed to notice.
Ouch.
That one hurt because it was true. After a long silence, Rowan stood. I should go home. Rowan. He waved a hand. I'm fine. The comments immediately shouted. He's not fine. No human says I'm fine and means it. To my surprise, Rowan laughed, as though he could somehow hear them. Then he looked at me one last time. Ivy. Yes. Don't make him wait another 3 years. The joking expression disappeared from his face. For the first time, he looked completely serious. People like Nathaniel don't leave because they stop loving someone. My heart tightened. They leave because loving someone alone eventually becomes exhausting. The words landed heavily because Nathaniel had almost left. He had reached that point, and if I had ignored the warning signs a little longer, I might have lost him. Rowan smiled. Now go home. That night, I arrived at the Cross estate later than usual. The house was quiet. Warm lights glowed through the windows. As soon as I entered, I smelled food. Freshly cooked food. I followed the scent into the dining room. Nathaniel was sitting, alone at the table. A stack of documents rested beside him. He looked up when he heard me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then his gaze softened. You're home. Such ordinary words. Yet something about them made my chest ache. I'm home. Not the laboratory. Not the ridge. Home. The comments grew unusually quiet. I walked toward him, past the table, past the documents, straight into his arms. Nathaniel blinked. Ivy. I buried my face against his shoulder. For several seconds, he simply held me. Then his hand gently stroked my hair. What happened? I thought about Rowan, about the ridge, about 37 visits, about 3 years of quiet devotion. Then I tightened my arms around him. I missed you. Nathaniel went completely still. The comment screamed. Direct kill.
He's dead.
The male lead has been eliminated. After a moment, I felt his heartbeat speed up beneath my cheek. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. You were gone one day. I know. And you missed me? Yes. Silence. Then, very softly, Nathaniel laughed. The sound held more happiness than I had heard from him in years. And for the first time, I began to understand something important. Nathaniel had never wanted perfection. He never wanted me to become someone else. He never wanted me to give up the work I loved. All he had ever wanted was a place in my heart equal to the place my work already occupied. And for the first time since our marriage began, I was finally ready to give it to him. The following morning, the ridge was unusually quiet. Not the comfortable quiet of early research hours, but the kind that felt like something important had already been decided. Nathaniel stood at the edge of the greenhouse, watching the cross vines sway gently under the morning light. I joined him, coffee in hand. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, he said, I read Rowan's report. I stiffened slightly. All of it. Yes.
A pause.
Then, unexpectedly, he added, "He's right about one thing." I turned to him. Nathaniel's eyes stayed on the plants. "I should have stopped waiting outside your lab." My chest tightened. "I didn't know you were." "I know."
He looked at me then.
Not accusing. Not bitter. Just calm. That's the problem. The silence between us stretched, but it didn't feel sharp anymore. It felt honest. For the first time, there were no floating comments. No distorted interpretations. Just us. I set my cup down. "I thought I was choosing between you and my work." Nathaniel shook his head once. "You were never choosing." He stepped closer. "I was just never telling you I wanted to be included." That sentence stayed in the air longer than anything else he had ever said to me. Then, quietly, he added, "And I didn't know how to ask without feeling like I was taking you away from yourself." My throat tightened. So that was it. Two people, standing in the same marriage, both believing they were protecting the other, both slowly drifting apart while thinking it was love that required distance. I reached for his hand first this time. His fingers paused, then closed around mine. Weeks later, Cross Group announced a breakthrough in global pharmaceutical research. The Siren Vine antidote entered mass production. The world called it a miracle. In truth, it was just science, and a woman who refused to give up on it. On the day of the announcement, I stood in the lab alone for a moment longer than necessary. Rowan poked his head in. "You're still here?" "I'm thinking." "About what?" I glanced at the empty bench. "Balance." Rowan nodded like he understood. Then he smiled faintly. "Good answer." Before leaving, he added, "Oh, and for what it's worth." I looked up. He shrugged. "I think you picked the right person a long time ago. You just didn't realize it until recently." I didn't answer, because I finally agreed. That evening, I found Nathaniel on the terrace. He was reading documents again, always working, even when he said he wouldn't. I sat beside him. He didn't look surprised. He just shifted slightly to make space for me. After a while, I leaned my head on his shoulder. "You're still working." "You said you wouldn't." I lied. I huffed a quiet laugh. Nathaniel closed the file. Then he said, "Ivy, if I had to do it again." I looked up at him. He met my eyes. "I would still marry you." My breath caught. "But I would ask for something earlier." "What?" His hand gently covered mine. "Not more of you." A pause. "Just a place beside you." This time, I didn't hesitate. "You already have it." Nathaniel studied me for a long moment, like he was confirming it was real. Then he pulled me closer. Not urgently. Not desperately. Just certain. Like someone finally standing where they were always meant to be. As the sun set over the ridge, the greenhouse lights flickered on one by one. The cross vine bloomed quietly in the glass house. Steady, patient, and enduring. Just like them. And for once, there were no comments. Only the sound of two people who had finally learned how to stay. Epilogue. Nathaniel Cross, POV. I used to think patience was something I was good at. Board meetings. Negotiations. Waiting out hostile acquisitions. Enduring pressure without showing it. But none of that was real patience. Not like this. This was standing in the same house as the woman I loved and still feeling like she was a world away. For 3 years, I learned her routines more than I learned her. I knew when she forgot to eat. I knew when she stayed up all night in the lab. I knew the exact tone she used when she was about to dismiss rest as unnecessary. What I didn't know was whether any of it included me. People thought I was busy building an empire. In reality, I was just trying to find a way into my own marriage. There were nights I stood outside the Ridge laboratory and didn't go in. Not because I didn't want to, but because I told myself she would come out when she was ready. She rarely did. So I left food with Rowan. Fixed things that didn't need fixing. Asked questions I didn't expect answers to. And drove back alone. Every time I told myself the same thing. She is happy. That is enough. It wasn't. I realized that too late. The night I asked for divorce, I wasn't angry. I was exhausted. Not from her. From existing beside someone who never reached back. But even then, I didn't actually want to leave. That was the part one couldn't admit. Then she asked to shower with me. And I thought, for the first time in years, maybe I didn't have to. I canceled the attorney before I even left the building. I told myself it meant nothing. It meant everything. After that, I watched her slowly come closer again. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but in small, uncertain ways that felt more real than anything else in our marriage. A message, a call, a question about dinner, an invitation I never expected. And then, one day, she called me first. Not Rowan.
Me.
That was when I understood something simple. I had never needed more of her. Only proof that I existed in her world at all. The Ridge greenhouse still has that crossvine she named. She thinks I don't notice her naming habits. I do. I always have. She thinks she chose it because it survives harsh environments. But I think she chose it because she finally realized something she didn't want to say aloud. That love isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply stays. Like I did. Like she does now. Sometimes I still go to the Ridge at night, just to sit in the greenhouse and wait for her to finish working. She usually finds me there now. Last week, she brought me tea without being asked, sat beside me without hesitation, and rested her head on my shoulder like it belonged there. I didn't move for a long time, not because I was afraid she would leave, but because I finally knew she wouldn't. People say love changes. I think it doesn't. It just stops being one-sided when you're finally allowed to see it clearly. And Ivy, my wife,
Was never someone I stopped loving.
she was someone I finally stopped loving alone.